Hi, and welcome to the channel. Today's live is a little bit different. It is really casual. I just have a face on just because I was still out today. But it's a little bit more casual. I wanted to do something to end the week and begin a new week with self care on your mind. Instead of ending the week with like list of things to do and kind of a reflective period, I wanted to spend Sunday night, at least this Sunday night, talking a little bit about how to make self care a lifestyle, an actual lifestyle, not something that we do just from time to time. So, I want to start the new week with the mindset of self care. And you're like, well, Jenée, how do you do that? Most of the time, that's the furthest thing from my mind is like what I have coming up this week. Me is not on the equation. It's a list of what everybody else wants or what everybody else needs or work needs and things like that. So, how do we shift from thinking about all these other things and we make self-care more of something that is part of our lifestyle? Because it seems to me what I see in pretty much all of like the branding of self-care is it's this like you went away for a weekend or it's the baths with the candles and all those types of things, but we really want self-care to be a lifestyle, not something that is out of the ordinary. So I wanted to start by telling you this. Like my typical Sunday night is not really scripted. It is, I do whatever I'm going to do during the day. And then Sunday night, I find myself wanting to disconnect because I need that to get ready for the next week. And if you are in the chat and this is your typical, I don't know how late it is where you are. I mean, if you're on the East Coast, thank you for joining me at 9 o'clock your time. But what do you typically do to end the week and begin your new week? If you want to put that in the chat and let me know how you do your Sunday evening. Like what is your mindset? Are you relaxing? Are there anything that you're thinking about for the week? Or are you like, I am trying to get the last few minutes of this weekend and that is all I'm thinking about? That is fine too. That is perfectly fine too. I'm going to start by prefacing that activity of you guys telling me what you're doing this Sunday evening by saying, I was really thinking back about my grandmother and her time frame and just like back in those days. I remember my grandmother in Louisiana, she actually had they had a shotgun house and they had built on a little room over time. They built like a little extra room, and that's where they had like the deep freezer and all that kind of stuff. But it also became like her salon. So there was like a sit under dryer. There were all types of things in that room that became like the overflow room. But it was her salon. And I think back how these women, both of my grandmother, had more children than I ever could imagine having. I only had two. One had 5, one had 8. They were always busy. One of them did work outside the home and took care of a family. And they were able to still find time to do self-care. Both of my grandmothers, girl, don't let the church on Sunday. I was like, how did they find the time to get themselves together, to pull themselves together with all these responsibilities? Because look, right now we always talk about how we're so busy. We have so much going on in this like really fast-paced life. But I look back and I look at the responsibilities and the lack of access they had then to the things that we have now, and they were still getting it in. So I'm like, okay, there had to be a mindset shift of how they looked at caring for themselves. And maybe that is something that we can kind of dig back into and incorporate into what we have today in this new fast-paced society where it seems like we don't have time for ourselves. So I'm so glad to see that people are just relaxing. That is typically what I am doing on a Sunday night. And so I really appreciate you spending time with me today. I want to give you 3 quick tips on how to make your self-care more of a lifestyle. So I want to get started really quickly because I don't want to hold you up really late tonight. This is going to be a quick little tip for you and hopefully give you a mindset shift so you can start the week and have like a beautiful week. So my first tip is to say, keep it simple. Looking back on grandparents and other women that were able to fit it in, they had so many responsibilities, but they still got the self-care in. And I'm like, well, why are we not getting it in? Don't make it a production. So my first tip is you don't have to make it a big deal. Your self-care does not have to be the weekend getaway. It does not have to be all of these things. It doesn't have to be 2 hours that you devote every Saturday to yourself. I think sometimes we overcomplicate things by wanting to grasp so much at one time. All I'm saying is take a little piece, like break it down and say, I may not be able to give myself the big thing, but I can do the one thing. I can do just something small and I can build on that over time because that counts as self-care too. And it's so much easier to incorporate into your lifestyle than trying to do something big and grand and takes hours, right? We all have 10 or 15 minutes. If we have 10 or 15 minutes to be on Instagram, we have 10 or 15 minutes to either make ourselves some tea or to call or check on a friend, because for us, that's something that fuels us as well. Those types of things. So I'm saying number one is keep your self-care expectations for yourself, especially at the beginning. Keep it simple. Fit it in where you can. Some examples of an easy way to do that is you have to eat lunch anyway during the week. Make yourself a healthy lunch. And I didn't say every day of the week. I said just one. Try to do just one healthy lunch for yourself. Or maybe it is budgeting. Like for me, budgeting is actually part of self-care. And you're like, well, I don't see how that's self-care. For me, it is because I am stressed when I don't know like where my money is going and I don't feel like I'm in control of my finances. So for me, actually taking the time to do my finances is actually self-care. It's like mental health self-care. So I love that. I love this comment. Let me just put this up on the screen because starting every morning with tea to warm up my brain before you start working. That is a beautiful way to like give yourself something first. If you don't have, and that's what I mean by doing something simple. It doesn't have to be a full routine. I am now at a point where I have like a full morning routine. But when we talk self-care and we're trying to incorporate it as a lifestyle, start small. Start with the tea. You know what I mean? Start with maybe just a minute of gratitude. And I did just say a minute, 1 minute. Do things like that, small scale. And that way you can build it into your lifestyle. But give yourself some time to build up to a certain thing. Oh, Wendy, you are more than welcome to share this. Yes, you're welcome to share this on your Facebook page. I want more women to do self-care and make it part of their lifestyle. So please share it. Please share it. So we talked about keeping your self-care simple. Keep your routine simple at the beginning. Give yourself 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 minute of gratitude. Do those things. That still counts. It still counts and it's still valuable. You can build on it over time. Okay. We're not trying to like make it too overwhelming. Okay. So my next thing I would tell you is, I have another way of like, another example of like, make it simple. If you know you already are going to be watching TV this evening, hopefully not too late, but if you are going to be watching your show, wear a mask while you're, wear a sheet mask while you're watching your show, or soak your feet while you're watching your show. Those types of things, start to incorporate it into like little moments in your life, and you will start to see the benefit over time. Now, I would say typically we do things like we want to choose things that are not healthy as our self-care, like the things we want to fill our lives with things that are not healthy for us. And that kind of feels like self-care, but it's not really self-care. And you know what I'm talking about. It's TV shows that really don't put us in a great mindset, or it's toxic friendships that you hang with this person because they're not in a great space, and you guys can be in that great space together. Or it's what we call, or eating terrible food that is really actually bad for your body, and we call it comfort food. We call it comfort food. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to make up for the self-care that we're not really giving ourselves by putting these other things in, and we really don't want to use those things. We need to retrain ourselves that you actually deserve the best and the better version of these things. You deserve the better friendship, positive vibration type thing. If you're watching TV, maybe it is something that is, you know, nice, maybe something that makes your mind explore. I like to watch travel. I'm terrible. Not terrible, but things like that. Things that allow you to maybe dream or to relax or to bring out the curiosity, those types of things. So let's try to, incorporate things where we know that we're like, we could probably do better in those areas of giving ourselves something that we really deserve, because you don't deserve the toxic friendship, right? It's just fill-in. You don't deserve to have bad health because you're continuing to eat foods that are not healthy for your body, or don't really give you the fuel you need to be your best, a better version of yourself. And I really hate to say a better version of yourself, because I really do believe that there are many versions of ourselves, and whatever we present for that day is given, we give based on the energy that we have. So number one tip was keep it simple. My second tip for getting self-care to move more in towards, I have a self-care lifestyle. It's not something that I just do every now and then. It's part of my lifestyle. My second tip is to look for self-care experiences and opportunities every day. And that kind of goes back into a mindset shift of self-care is, there's opportunities every single day in my normal day for me to do self-care. Because I'm keeping it simple, like I said, I can make myself a healthy lunch. That is self-care. That counts. And it doesn't have to be scheduled. This can be I'm like looking for the opportunity. Let's talk about it this way. I know for me as a traveler, if I want to go on a trip and I'm looking for flights at a certain price, I'm going to look for the price. I'm going to put on alerts if it's not the price I want, and I'm going to be looking for it. And the next thing you know, all the emails I'm going to get are going to be about that particular place. It's going to be telling me about the flight and all of that. Why? Because I am looking for it. A lot of times we are not looking for opportunities for self-care in our everyday life. We really want to make sure that we're shifting from, I see all these options. And believe me, when you start to look for areas that you can do self-care in small moments in your everyday life, you'll see you have a lot more opportunities for self-care than you actually think you do. A lot of times we're like, oh, we don't have time. But you're not looking for the moments and the opportunities to do self-care. Prime example, let's say that you are going somewhere, you have an appointment, and you arrive early or you have to wait. Well, instead of waiting and seeing it as waiting, be like, this is a self-care moment. Look at this. I've been gifted time to listen to an audiobook, something that'll fill my soul or something like that. You have to look for the opportunities when they present themselves and take advantage of them. So that's a way to incorporate it into your lifestyle. Don't wait for like self-care to be scheduled and all that kind of stuff. You can just incorporate it whenever you're given the moment, but you have to be looking for them, just like you would look for those like flights or look for that dress that you want to be on sale. Look for self-care as well. And you'll see that there's a bounty of options for you to have self-care daily. Now, my third tip for creating a self-care lifestyle is actually, if you are really, really, really struggling to find, expand your mindset of what self-care is is to schedule time to have self-care. Now, the reason this is the last tip, and it's not my favorite tip, I will tell you number one and number two, which is keep it simple and look for ways in everyday life to have self-care, like opportunities, to look for the opportunities. I like those a lot better than the schedule. You'll hear a lot of people say, oh, if you want to do self-care, you need to schedule it. You need to go ahead and schedule it. Yes and no. This is what I'm going to say about scheduling. When you schedule something, it seems like, and tell me if I'm wrong, when you schedule self-care for yourself, that is the first thing to get bumped out of your calendar, right? It's the first thing to get overridden, like, because mentally you are not showing yourself that that is so important that, like, oh, I can't schedule during that time, or I'm doing this, that, or the other. That's the first thing that gets bumped. I'm saying from experience, the scheduling can backfire because you can schedule it and then it's like, oh, I'll just move that. Or I'll need to I have to do that at another time. It keeps taking a back seat. So sometimes the scheduling doesn't work as well as we would like. But here's another, like, pros. I'm giving you pros and cons of the whole scheduling your self-care. Pros, if you can be determined to keep those appointments. But the cons is it does happen. We tend to bump that out of our schedules first. And then the second kind of con to scheduling is that we're scheduling services. I'd say a lot of times with services, not maybe massages, more so if you're getting your nails done and things like that. We're scheduling services and we're getting them done in environments that are not positive and fulfilling environments. If you are scheduling to get your nails done and it's an environment that is against maybe your other self-care, maybe the news is on and you're hearing negative news, that's not good for mental health. If you are scheduling in an environment where people are rushed and hurried, that's not conducive to you finding inner peace and kind of that self-care and balance. Do you see what I'm saying? I think you understand what I'm saying about being very mindful of, if you are scheduling certain services and things like that as part of your self-care routine, the environment matters. All of this matters in your self-care routine. So scheduling can be good if you're able to commit to it. And if you're really, really trying to grasp, like, I can't see it in my everyday. I'm not able to find the opportunities or identify them yet. I'm not quite to that point, but maybe every Sunday I can, I don't know, do my nails or read for 15 minutes, those types of things, before everybody else gets up in the house or before I start my day. Or like the other sister said that she has tea in the morning, those types of things. You can find that and make that space. But if you can't do it on your own, and you have to schedule it, that's perfectly fine. You can start to build the habit. If you're going to schedule it, I suggest you schedule it with something you're not going to miss. That's kind of like if I want to wear a sheet mask, I'm going to make sure that I am wearing it on the show that I know I will not watch. I'm going to tack it on with something else that I know I'm not going to miss. If you know that you go for a walk every day and part of your self-care is you want to incorporate more audiobooks and things like that, and you know that you never miss your walk, well, that's where you can get your 15 minutes of reading or listening time in. So these are ways that we can just make it easy on ourselves to have self-care. I really feel like we make it a lot harder than it needs to be. And a lot of that is digging into we maybe don't feel like we really deserve it. We see it more as like a luxury, and it's not. Self-care is not a luxury. And I think I'm going to do a few more videos talking about that, the mindset behind it. But this quick video was all about the 3 tips that I can give you guys to incorporate self-care as a lifestyle. I'm going to review them really quickly, and then I have somewhat of a late night assignment. It's not really assignment, but it's something hopefully to close out your evening. Like I said, I started this by saying, I want this to be a closeout to one week and a start to your next week. And so therefore I want your mindset to be in a certain state of mind when you finish your time with me tonight. So my 3 tips are: keep it simple. Make sure that you are looking for those self-care opportunities in your everyday life. And the third is schedule your self-care if you have no other options. But if you're going to schedule it next to something that you know you will not miss. Like, will not miss. It needs to be attached to something that's already part of your lifestyle and your schedule. So I have one final, I would say, thing for you to think about before I end this live tonight. It is, I want you to think about self-care, an activity that you can do for yourself tomorrow. And it can't be something that you already do. So the having the tea in the morning does not count because that's already part of your lifestyle. A self-care activity that you can do for yourself tomorrow, only tomorrow, just on Monday. And I want to, if you need to, I want you to use whatever you're going to do for yourself. I want you to replace a habit that's not serving you tomorrow with that self-care that you want to do. So if tomorrow you usually do fill in the blank, I want you to find a way to incorporate some self-care into that. If you are aware of something that is not serving you in a positive sense. So if you have something, observe, like, no, on Mondays, I am completely slammed after work and I am super tired, and I come in, I lay down on the couch and this, that, and the other, or whatever. And that doesn't feel me. It lets me relax, but it's not really considered, I wouldn't say it's filling me like self-care. Rest is very important, but if you're resting, say, in front of the television and filling your mind like what you're watching is not good for your mental state, then that's not self-care. I think you know what I mean. Take the time to replace something. And if you don't have anything to replace, that's excellent. Just decide on Monday the one thing that you're going to do for yourself as a version of self-care. And remember, I say keep it simple. Keep it simple. It can be so simple. It could be you wrote in a journal for 10 minutes. It can be, I'm not even giving ideas because the whole purpose of this is for you to expand what you think self-care is and to look for the opportunities in your regular day to fit it in there and what it looks like for you. So self-care, certain things for me that are self-care may not be self-care for you. Like I just told you, doing my budget is self-care for me. I don't know if everyone would say doing their budget is self-care, but in actuality it is if you want to, not be stressed about your finances. So those types of things. So I am so glad that you joined me this evening. I told you this will be very, very short, unscripted. And I believe we're going to do, I think I may do every Sunday if the time works and I get some feedback from ladies that they're able to do this and then do their regular Sunday night and continue to relax and maybe have something positive on their mind as they're going to sleep. And that is my hope in doing these self-care Sundays, is for self-care to be a focus and for you to start the week with you on your mind, instead of everything else. So thank you so much for joining me today or tonight. And if you're on the East Coast, thank you for staying up late with me. And I hope to see you next week. If you do participate in the Monday self-care, find self-care in your day, I would love for you to drop it on my Facebook page or on Instagram. Like, let me know what you found that you can fit in without even trying hard. So have a wonderful night, and I will see you next Sunday at 8. Bye, ladies.